Call the roll, please. Get a chance to sit down and get cozy.
Mike Bell,
Here.
Bill Britton,
Here.
Tony Cox,
Here.
Bob Garrett,
Here.
John Hofer,
Here.
Keith Jackson, Louis Jarvis,
Here.
Matt Lacy,
Here.
Tom Rush,
Here.
Dan Winter.
Okay, we did get Keith is here. I can see him, so it's, okay.
He said it.
He finally got it.
He had to warm up a little bit, you know, it's cold. All right, first order of business, public comment. Anyone got something they'd like to share with the board this morning?
I have a question.
Yes.
I was just curious as to the status of the RFP. I know at the county commissioners meeting it had been pushed because there were some items that were incorrectly listed in the newspaper, and just was curious if
On
you knew what it
the class 3 landfill?
Yes, sir.
That's, guys, you want to talk about that, you're closer to that than anybody here. Both the solid waste board and the city have approved the class 3, standing at the county.
County approved it last time.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I could ask Bill, but hey, it's, y'all probably keep closer attention to who Bill does, so.
He was there.
Anything else?
He was pretty close last night.
All right, we'll keep rolling on the agenda. The next item is approval of minutes. It's in your package. Any comments, concerns?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Motion second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes stand approved. Amy, we're talking about dollars.
Okay, you should have received your October financial statements. Just a few things to point out. First of all, in the accounts receivable at the end of October, that includes just over $51,000 at that point that was a receivable from the county for the tire grant. Part of that was monies that was due for the last fiscal year, almost $22,000, and then the other $29,000 is related to the current fiscal year. We have received that money to date. I just wanted to point that out. You'll notice a couple of new accounts on the financial statements. The LGIP Capital Fund is now established, and we have that balance of the initial $3.5 million plus the earnings for the month. And so on the income side, we've separated that out just so you can track that monthly as well. On the income statement, no particular activity for the month. We're showing almost $131,000 of income net for the month. Year to date, that shows a loss, but of course we have the capital expenditures that at the end of the year will be capitalized. And so without those, we would have income of $336,000. I will tell you that the audit is underway for fiscal year June 30, 2018. Tanya has been out there Wednesday, Thursday, and she's out there again today. So that's in progress, and I'm sure she'll have a report for us at the next board meeting. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Welcome, Mr. Jarvis. We're talking about finances. We got any questions for Amy? Okay. Tom, what about the investment side of the, anything to talk about it?
We don't have anything to do, we're still completing the transfer to commercial, there's a lot of paperwork there, that should be done soon, and the rate on the LGIP is moved up to 2.1 gross, that's before the 4 basis point fee. So,
All right, any general comments on finance before we roll on? If not, manager's report. Dennis, glad to have you with us today. What you got to share with us this morning?
The state inspection went well. They inspected the landfill and burner. Everything was fine. Everything on the working part of it seems to be in pretty good shape.
We appreciate you coming in and filling in, and things do look to be moving pretty smooth. Everybody got questions for Dennis? I did ask that we throw into the agenda package for your information the letter from TDEC on our recycling. You can note that we easily met the mandated 25%, and they did remind us that we've got to modify our solid waste plan to manage the bulk waste in the event of a disaster. Bill, I was trying to remember, I know we had a group talking about that, and I sort of lost track. Do you remember where it stands?
That's basically the only action that's taken. I think that there's some, we're waiting on either TDEC or CTES to come up with some recommended procedures and of some kind. But we've had that initial discussion, that's been about it.
Yeah, I know you try and plan for disasters, but that's why they call them disasters, because you don't know what's coming, so. But as far as I know, we did it better than an average job on the recycling, which is largely due to our industrial users, so I think they're the ones that are the big volumes there. Overall, it looked pretty good.
We count the salt level too, that we hadn't in the past.
Yeah, I think that makes a difference. Okay, Mr. Bostic.
Okay. Had a busy month working with TDEC on the replacement of that French drain around through there. We finally got the peer review comments back from Nashville. There were 4 comments. We addressed those, resubmitted the plan to TDEC, and according to Dr. Haynes, they will get an approval on that by the end of next week, which he said he was leaving Wednesday, and we'd have the approval letter by then. That's the French drain line and the laterals over into the cells where the leachate pops have been, some additional gas vents in there. And along with that, we will include the, I guess you call it the disaster plan for the leachate, where you have to have 30 days of, be able to handle it for 30 days, and we've got TDEC to agree to a fairly inexpensive fix for that. Just some work on your existing pump station, and with the number of I guess you call them septic pumping haulers up here, they pretty much agreed to let us use that as a backup. So we don't have to put in any big tanks. You've got a couple tanks out there that we let it tow in that we would use in case we had to, and then if, you know, if need be, you could rent a tanker to park over there and pump into, but I think we've got plenty of different ways to handle that leachate there.
How much would that be in a month? How much would that be in a month?
I think we figured, let's see, it wouldn't be over about, I think, 25,000 gallons, something like that. A lot of it obviously depends on the weather.
Sure.
But at first they want us to put a tank in and be able to store it, but, you know, there's really there's no reason to do that. Then the flow meter that MUS approved in their industrial pre-treatment plan, what our thoughts are is to include all that stuff in one bid. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and advertise that sometime around the 1st of December, and maybe have it for maybe your January meeting, because maybe it'd be better if we get in there when the ground's frozen or toward the lower rainfall times to do that work. When we did our quarterly gas monitoring, items 2, 3, and 4 there, we had a hit. We had 2 hits down in some existing vaults. I think one of them was a meter vault, and then the other one was I don't know if it was electric vault or something out there where the methane levels were really high. So TDEC asked us to do some additional monitoring in storm drains and on the other side of the road, and water meters, that sort of thing. We did that. came back with the levels are basically zero anywhere off-site. And then they came back and asked us to do, excuse me, the basements in those 3 houses across the street. So we went and checked those, and there was nothing. No methane, none of the gases that you monitor for. And so between those 2 items, we did 2 short amendments to that quarterly monitor report, sent those into TDEC, and they were good with those. And then they asked that we do an action plan, which really doesn't make a lot of sense, but anyway, they asked us to do an action plan of what we would do if we did find elevated levels. And I wrote about 3 paragraphs, you know, that would be sampling those 3 basements until the levels on site got lower. And when we do this French drain and put those additional gas wells in, that's gonna cut the potential for migration of that methane through the ground. And once the levels in those vaults, and the reason they required us to do some offsite is those are 2 of the, what they call the boundary sampling points. So as soon as when we get this French drain in, we're putting gravel in, and it should cut that gas off. And once we get the readings in those vaults drop, then we can quit monitoring across this road over there. But again, we didn't find anything. We checked those. We finished the second biannual groundwater monitoring, replaced the tubing and on 2 of the wells. We're doing those 2 samples again. We got the results in for all but 2 of the wells, which those results are supposed to be in either today or Monday, and then we'll finish and record that. One of the wells, and I think there was a picture, was it in the stuff that was sent out to you? One of those wells, the top of the casing has been broken off. And I don't know if a car hit it, or I don't know if the county might have been bush hogging, something just clipped it right off at the ground. And then whoever did it though had the forethought to pull one of NUS's valve marking or manhole marking signs up and stick it down in it, I guess, so we could find it. But anyway, I've asked for quotes from 2 different companies to replace that well, because TDEC won't let us just abandon it. So it's gotta be replaced or
Replace
repaired.
the casing, not the well.
Well, the casing, if, they'll have to check the well and make sure that we haven't got a bunch of debris and stuff in it. But hopefully we can just replace the casing at the top and reseal around it. Both of them have gone out to look at it. So I expect, and what we did was we got Foundation Systems and Geo Services, who are local installers of those wells, to come by and look at them, and they're supposed to get us just a letter of what we need to do and a cost. As far as the expansion permitting, we've got 2 different cell layout options for that area. We followed up with the geotech and went over the groundwater levels, the rock elevations, and they recommended we make some revisions to those. So I've got my CAD guy working on that, and I will have those numbers by the end for the December meeting. I was hoping to have them for this one, but they recommended there's one area there, they recommended we cut down a little bit farther into the rocks. Either way we want to keep TDEC from requiring a bunch of additional geotechnical work. So, and I think that's about it, unless anybody has any questions.
Somebody give Steve something to chew on, he was too comfortable sitting over there.
Dog, did you ask for the leachate for the month or a day?
Curious.
It's a month, what, 250,000, somewhere, it depends on the weather, but I would say an average.
Yeah, it's been anywhere, typically what we've been seeing is about, I think, 25,000, but during real wet weather, it can run that much. But again, we've got TDEC to approve what we're planning on doing. I don't get those
Yeah,
meter readings, but
I thought the,
well, we average,
collection ponds were for that reason.
no, you can't put it in ponds.
we average.
What if it gets in a pond?
8 to 10,000 a day on an average.
On average.
Well, anywhere from 5 to 10,000, it depends on what, and it has gone to, I'm sure a couple of days this month it'll go to 15,000, 20.
We've had a fair amount of rain.
Yes, I'd say we've got a couple 20,000 gallon days.
And we're, what, 11, 12 inches up on the year?
All right, Steve, I think you guys are gonna talk more about the well in a minute, but anything else for engineering? All right, the next piece of business, we talked last meeting about getting a receiver box to be able to swap out our recycles and not have to wait for the hauler to come pick it up before we can continue to run the compactor. You have in your packet 4 quotes, they're all below the estimate that we suggested we move forward with, which is 10,000. The 2 low quotes for the unit price are identical, the difference is in shipping. Dennis, you got any reason to pick one over the other?
Going through it, one of them is built just a little stronger, and about me looking, so that was this one here, and I don't know who makes it, where it come from, but that's the only difference I've seen.
Well, that's the low bid too,
Well,
so.
it's got a little thicker metal.
How you gonna move it?
Oh, they're easy to move, they have a hook in the front, we can pull them with the chains, get them out of the way, or you can push, they got rollers on the bottom.
Okay. We're not, 2 months from now, gonna have to get a,
Oh, no, not for that.
okay.
So we got 4 quotes in front of you, we've got a recommendation from staff, what's your pleasure?
Move to accept the new line. Is that the one you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a motion, second. Any other conversation about this item? If not, since we're spending money, let's call the roll.
We're saving money.
Yeah, we're saving money, that's right. Since we're saving money, let's take credit.
A little bit of difference.
Yes.
Mike Bell,
Yes.
Bob Garrett,
Yes.
John Hofer,
Yes.
Keith Jackson,
Yes.
Louis Jarvis,
Yes.
Matt Lacy.
Yes.
Tom Rush.
Yes.
Okay, on the agenda, Steve, is the, we talked about the well damage. We've got an agenda item here. What have we got before us?
Well, as I mentioned in our report there, we've requested quotes from 2 companies to repair that well casing. And we'll probably have those within, I'd say maybe a week or so.
Is that PVC?
For some reason, it's PVC.
That's the only one, it's the
Yeah.
one offside.
I mean, you'd think that'd be a pretty easy fix, wouldn't it?
Well, it depends on how, if it pushed it over far enough to where it broke the seal down there, then it's not gonna be an easy fix. But I think it will be.
You cut it off and put a cap on and screw on cap, would that not work?
No, you have to raise those things up, but what they'll do is they'll just put a sleeve right there and probably put a piece of steel casing up, put a cap on it. They'll have to pour a little concrete pad around it. It's not a major fix, but I asked TDEC if we could abandon that well, and they obviously said, no, it's not one where we've got one close enough where they'll let us back.
They better paint it pink or it'll be the same situation.
Well, we're gonna put a bollard, Dan's gonna put a bollard out in front of it, take a piece of steel pipe and concrete it in the ground. I don't know,
Bush hog.
well, I don't know, we see that a lot on water valve boxes, manhole lids, catch basins. if they're bush hogging along, and
Where was that?
it's right beside, Summit there.
If you coming
Is it
out,
not Summit?
if you
It's-
come out of, the way, the landfill, the other landfill entrance, it's straight across the street from them, it's off the side.
So it's across the road.
Yes, it's across the street.
What was the, how far is it off the road?
It ain't far,
Now, it might be what,
2-3 foot.
yeah.
It ain't far.
So the mistake was made when they put it there.
Yeah, it should have been,
Should put a bollard on it then.
We just need
Yeah.
to build a road around it.
yeah, back in the spring, I went through, or back last spring, I went around and put steel posts around all of them and painted them yellow, just so they would be better seen, but that wasn't the case.
We'll put a ball in it.
Switch right.
Yeah.
So it's gonna hurt when.
Yeah, we'll put one about 10 foot in the ground, concrete, so it'll hurt. It might save it.
And in a bright color, it's hard to,
Yes.
when you're looking over here, it's hard to see.
Steve, do you have an estimate on what this repair might cost?
I would imagine, you're probably talking about $2 or $3 grand or something.
Is it something that can wait until the next board meeting, or do we want authorization to move forward?
It doesn't have to be done until right before we sample the first time next year or so.
Let's get what, if it pleases the court, wait till we get it asked.
Yeah, I think it's, what we need to do though, Dennis, is put a cap on it. Just get a PVC cap and drop down on it so we don't get anything washing into it,
I'll do it when I get back.
and pull the sign out.
Okay.
That's all, the way we find it right now. Okay,
I'll put it beside it.
all right, get us some quotes, bring it back, and we'll talk about it next month. Anything else that, anyone would like to bring before the board? If not, we'll call the meeting adjourned, thank you very much.